Okay, good morning, avocado group. This is Gray. It's January 30th, no, that's my birthday, 1953. So I'm 68 today. But I'm grafting in this kind of abandoned section, really, where I had some root rot and we had some heat burn because of the record-breaking heat this past summer, and I'm busy with my dragon fruit, so this is the first of several because I want to emphasize some basics that I think get lost. Last time I grafted in avocado was almost 20 years ago. So even though it's late January, I know from the recent cold night temperatures that the bark on the avocado is not ready to be active. But I'm going to check it. This is like a T-bud here, and I can just tweak it and see if the bark is slipping back, pulling back, and no, it's going to take some force. It's going to tear. But the green bark will be fine. So I'll just go ahead and graft on this tree. So first, this is a tree that we cut down several years ago, let regrow, and these are ideal for grafting. These can be grafted a little bit harder. Not that much harder, but a little bit harder, more technique on the graft. I'll show it when we perform it on this graft, but if you can get the tree to be cut and regrown like this, this is ideal for multiple grafted trees. All right, I'm opening it up, and you can see in here we've got multiple shoots competing for dominance. All right, so I'm going to pick one or two, and the most central ones, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so what I've done is I opened it up, and it looks like I've got 5 shoots here, this central one being the best one. But if we want a multiple graft, then we want to spread and balance the new growth. So you can see this one could help us or serve us. Maybe that one, maybe this one. I'm not sure of this one. Might just stay within that cluster there. Although this would be a good demonstration graft, because what I'm going to do is put a little bark graft in that, and just the same kind of bark graft that I'm going to use here, in fact on all of them. Okay, why don't you pause there? Okay. All right, so what we've got here is I've cut this shoot here, and I'll also graft this shoot right here to lamb. I have some lamb budwood, lamb-hass budwood. Now, this was grafted 2 years ago on this size limb. You can see I had 1, 2, 3 main limbs here. Unfortunately, when I asked the workers to paint my tar white, they took the tape off and to paint it. They thought everything needed painting. They just, for some reason, they just made the error that the tape had to be removed. So I came back later and saw it removed, but it was too late, and so the grafts didn't survive. I did get one mango graft survive. I'll show you at the end of this. Anyway, so the way you approach this kind of bark grafting on the Hass avocado, this is a Hass on avocado, is you just cut into your green wood like this, straight up, and you open up one side, especially on the small on the small size shoots. Now, right, if it was actively growing, this would just pop back. But because it's a little winter dormant still, I have to force it just a little bit. And what I'm doing here is I'm separating the bark from the core and exposing the cambium underneath. And the cambium tissue is on both sides. So that's why when we make a cut on our scion, like this, like I showed you in that previous video, I make one long cut, and then I make another cut, and the second cut you can whittle if you need to. But it ends up being a slight pie shape, where this side here is slightly wider than this side here. And the reason for that is so that when we put it in here, when we put it between the bark, like this, we don't want it sticking out down there. When we put it between the bark, it's acting like a pie. Do you see how the pie wedge is in there? The inside portion is smaller than the outside portion here. So that I've written in several of my Facebook pages that avocado grafting is quite simple, and you just saw how simple it is. Now I don't have my 1-inch tape, because I just don't graft enough. I don't use 1 inch, so I don't have any more. So I'm using my 1/2-inch tape here. But you want to put this very snug. You want to put this as tight as you can without breaking it. So that's really cinched down there. Now, notice the way I'm wrapping. I'm wrapping into the cut so that that edge there is sealed on that side. So we'll just tie this up like this, especially at the top like that. I can seal the bottom in a lot of different ways, actually. But I'll just use a little bit of 1/2-inch tape here. So that one is 100% guaranteed there. All right? And that was kind of a one for demonstration. And tight, 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 sealed. And we'll put tar. We'll put tar all on these exposed cut, water-based roofing tar on the cut there, and then later we will paint it white so it reflects. All right, so now if we pause. Okay, so ideally if you're going to select graft wood, you like straight wood here where you're going to make your cuts. But oftentimes you can't get that, you can't get that kind of wood. So it's important that you get hardwood here. So I can use bent wood if I use straight cuts. That cut right there is going to be flat all the way on this inside here. Now this cut's going to be slightly different. Here I do the same exact cut that I did on the other one. Whoop. Now I told you I can whittle on this one. Why can I whittle on the second cuts? Well, I can whittle on the second cuts because the bark is pliable and the bark will connect when I put the tape on there tightly. So that, see, the first cut's flat. The second cut is going to be pliable because of the bark. But this cut, the third cut, which is a little different than the other cut, which, like I said, again, I can whittle, gives you a ridge line down the top, and this is going to go on both sides of this shoot here. We're going to try and put it down the middle, and the reason for that is because when this heals, it's going to heal on both sides very cleanly. The other one will only callus and heal on the one side, but this one will heal on both sides. So let's see if my sign will force that. This is an old butter knife that it opened it up down there. Just helps to open up your bark down there where your cyan's going. I usually make them and bend them and everything, but I just grabbed this one out of the kitchen. You can tear this bark here. It looks amateurish, but it's quite common that we tear it, because especially now it's not slipping very well. So I've got it well healed. The inside here is flat, well anchored. These two sides will heal on both sides of those cambiums. I'll pull this tape, pull this sign a little bit straight up here. I'll anchor it here first, and then that will heal up all in there, and then will grow on both sides here. So this one, I'll just use 1/2-inch tape, although it's a lot more work, but I'll just use that single layer tape. See, I cinch it down just like that, make sure it's nice and tight down there. I'll come back and tar that, wrap up. This one you can wrap either way because you're just basically cinching it down, right? So we'll just come up here. I'll pull it a little bit to the center right there. Oops, that's the problem with 1/2-inch tape. Let's just pull that right there. Cinch it, see if it goes back on there. Pull it again. It's beautiful right there. This seals it real nice. Tie that off right there. And I'll finish this off with some parafilm up here and the tar right here and a little bit of tar right there. This thing is solid in there. You can pull that out if you wanted to. And it's got all that cambium content. So just to finish this up, you can see I've grafted those 2 shoots. They're both to lamb hass. I don't have budwood of the varieties that I want to put on here. I'm collecting them this coming week. So I'll leave this shoot for 1 week. Now, if I can't get budwood, I've got to cut these shoots back because I need the entire plant to surge at the same time. And this is the biggest point that I've been wanting to emphasize in all of the posts I'm reading on the Facebook, is that even now, if I left these just like this, I would get a little bit of growth on the 2 grafts, but not vigorous growth. I want a vigorous push on the graft. So the best way to ensure that is to cut all of the tops down. I've cut a lot of the lateral limbs out, but the best way would be cut the tops down. So I'm going to leave them. Next week I'll come in, I'll graft the 2 varieties. I'll talk about those varieties then, but but this idea of apical dominance, people come in and they graft low limbs on the avocado thinking that they're going to get success, and what's happening is these remaining limbs are throwing down inhibitor hormones. They want to dominate this plant, and they're going to throw down inhibitor hormones to everything down below, and that's your graft. So you don't want that. So the best way to ensure that is just to cut all those branches down. Even if you were going to maintain one of those limbs, you would still cut it down and regrow it as a hass limb. Those 3 remaining limbs are hass. If I wanted a hass and those 2 lamb hass, I just cut these 2 down similar to the other ones and regrow them. Okay, we can talk more as we continue this. Lastly, I've just got to show you this. So this is a mango graft from the same time that I grafted those avocados that failed above. But what I'm going to try to show you is that you only need, this is the scion. So that little tiny bud stick that we just saw was that. And then this is the shoot here. I just lost a limb to the wind, but this is the shoot that emerged from that graft. So we only need one bud stick and one shoot. Very imperative that you track this, because it's counterintuitive, but we want to force that one shoot from the graft up. We don't want any lateral competition. We're just going to select one shoot going straight up. We're going to tie that shoot up and up and up and up and up. In the case of the mango, it's split right there. But in the case of the avocado, it's going to grow up and throw lateral branches. And that juvenility that's occurring in that one shoot is going to influence your scion. Your scion is therefore going to expand and grow and attach more strongly right there. That's what you want. You want a strong attachment of the graft to your grafting branch, your trunk. All right? So we can talk about it as we move forward, but that's basically it.